Oh, I forgot to hit the button. Sorry. Hold on one more minute. Okay, we're good to go.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the January meeting of the Town and Country Architectural Review Board. We have 4 items on the agenda this evening. We'll move through them as quickly as possible. But to start the meeting, we'll have the roll call. Laura?
Chairman Bennicus,
Here.
Mr. Clark,
Here.
Mr. Forbringer,
Here.
Ms. Proust,
Here.
and Mr. Sukup.
Here, same thing.
I have Mr. Arzano and Ms. Bennis is absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the minutes from the previous meeting that have been submitted in the packets that were distributed. Any additions, changes, or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to approve as submitted.
Motion to approve.
I will
Is there a
second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Minutes for the December meeting are approved. Next item on the agenda is a continued item from the December meeting. Excuse me, I'm being saying December, I meant January. From the January meeting of a subdivision gate at 1949 Barrett Station Road. Is there a presenter for that project?
Mr. Pullman,
Is Mr. Pullman the presenter? Sir, you're
yes.
on mute. There
Okay,
you go.
okay.
Okay. Let's run a test here. Can we hear you?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you. Good. Okay, so we had continued this and asked for some consideration to be given to the overall design. Can you give us a update?
Well, the original design was very expensive and much more involved than this one. And the reason was because the original was designed for houses that were $2 to $2.5 million. And apparently then they have backed off and the houses in there are now 1 to 1.5 million. So they wanted to, somebody, well, I think the owner, the developer, and the city thought that that original design was not in keeping with the architecture that was in there because they're cheaper houses than what it was originally designed for. So they wanted me to redesign it and tone it down a little. So I did. And the original had brick and columns with curved roof and copper roofs and caps and finials that were custom made out of copper. And this one is stone. The other one, the original, had a low retaining wall on it like this one does. And this one has just one column in there that is, well, it's called Borel. It's a type of, it's not really wood, but it is more durable than wood. And that is really just framed over cement blocks that causes that tower. And then it has a metal raised roof on it that's kind of pointy. And then that cement block part that would form the tower would be finished so that you don't see cement blocks. It's just has a kind of a coarse texture to it, and just painted a tan color. And all of the trim would be black. Even the roof, raised ridge metal roof, would be black. And then all of the, what was wrought iron, it would now be 1-inch aluminum tubing type fence, if you know what I mean. Looks like wrought iron, but it's actually aluminum and much lighter. And that allowed for the gate opener to be, with real heavy gates, you really need a gate opener that is like maybe 18 inches square. And I had allowed for that on the original plan. But on this one, where the gates are aluminum and not so heavy, well, then the gate opener can be attached right to the gate, and you don't need that big square of concrete to put the gate opener machine on. So that causes everything to be a lot less expensive and fit into maybe a style that's more in keeping with the $1 million houses rather than $2 million houses. There's planting that's been put in there already that fit that original plan that I drew pretty much. Might have to be some adjustments there. Somebody already planted that, the trees anyway that are there. There's extra planting that I have put on here that does not exist there right now. But most of the trees, there's just 3 or 4 trees that I have added to it, to what's already been planted there. And then planting around the fence part. And there's some annual planting that is, as you drive into that area where you would stop to open the gates, on each side of that grassy area, there's annual planting in there that could actually have daffodils in it for spring. And then all of the rest of that area in there is just grass. I don't really know if the developer is planning on that being irrigated or not. It isn't right now. There is, as you drive into that area on the left, there is a house that somebody built there just last year or the year before. And they have irrigation, but the irrigation just goes down to their property line. So there isn't irrigation along the street. I don't think there is anyway. So I'm not sure if there'll be irrigation in that or not. It would be nice, but that's not up to me. I guess it'd be up to Manlin. I guess Linda Clark is the gal that is the representative for Manlin Development, and apparently she's not with us tonight. Is that right?
That's correct.
Wow. Well, it surprises me, but she would have the answer to that kind of thing. I had originally thought that all of that area would actually be sodded, but there's grass in there now, and it's of course not. It was seeded, so it's not as thick as what sod would be, but it might be that they're just planning on adding more grass seed to that area to thicken it up. I don't know. That's something that they would have to answer. So the fencing on that original plan, I had the fencing at 6 feet tall, but the city only wanted it to be 4 feet tall. So I have lowered that down to 4 feet all along the street and for the entry area. So I think that everything is in keeping with city requirements. Is there any questions that you have about any of it?
Questions, comments about the project?
Pardon me?
Any questions or comments about the project?
What is the reason for the single column? Why don't we have another column on the other side of the gate?
I don't think it's really necessary. The focal point to that area is the column and the sign that says Lock and Heath. And the planting is done in such a way that it keeps it in balance. You could say that this is asymmetrically balanced, would be all right, but it's not necessary to have one on each side. That's something that is typically done and is okay, but certainly not necessary.
And what is the reason for the roof and the shape of the roof like that?
Just to give some interest to and to make it a little more in keeping with high-end housing, but not $2 million housing. The other plan that I had was in keeping with 2 million or more, but this is upscale. Certainly in a lot of subdivisions that might just be a stone column and not be very ornamental at all. But it would seem like for $1 to $1.5 million houses that it should be something that is a little more ornate and a little more unique. And the location of that, if you're familiar with this location on Barrett Station Road, it's up from Manchester, and the entry into Barrett Station Road from Manchester, which is where everybody would have to come into this subdivision, is not just ideal. And there is a White Castle restaurant there on that corner, and then on a catty corner is electric transformer area. It's planted around it and it's growing up and fairly secluded, but then there's a bank and a commercial area on the left, and a ways up the street there is this older subdivision. The houses are I would guess maybe 300,000 or 400,000 or something, way less than this. And so it just seemed to me that because of the approach to this subdivision, that it would need to be something pretty upscale to kind of, should I say, apologize for the approach to the whole subdivision. So that's why it's a little more upscale than what it would normally have to be, but still not outrageous.
So to follow up on Mr. Soku's question, you mentioned that the landscaping balances it out. You said it was asymmetrical. Can you help me understand? I don't see how the landscaping balances it. It looks offset. It seems to me like a column on each side would appear much more palatable from my perspective. But tell me about your sense about the landscaping that balances it out.
Well, there's more bulk on the left-hand side than there is on the right, and there is enough symmetry in all of the planting on either side of the, if you draw a line down the middle of the street, everything on the right and everything on the left is symmetrically balanced. And that in itself holds the whole thing together, so that this monument being only on one side really is, here, I think I want to say it this way. if a lady's going to a wedding and she is wearing a corsage, she wears a corsage only on one side, on her shoulder. There doesn't need to be one on each side because it's really an accent. The focal point to the whole thing here is the gates. So that little monument that's there and the sign is really an accent and acts the same as a corsage would be on a lady's dress, where there's only, the corsage is only on one side because it's an accent. There doesn't need to be one on each side. Does that make sense to you? That's
Well,
design talk.
Yeah, okay. I hear it, but it doesn't perceptually fit for me really. Any other questions, comments about the project?
I just want to say I'm okay with it. I actually like it. I think it's a strong improvement over the last submission, and looking at the tree choices, and it seems that the left-hand side has the Norway spruces, which I can't tell if there's more or not, but those are pretty substantial and get big and pretty dense. So
Yeah.
there might be some balance in that. I'd have to really be able to investigate this for a long time, but I think it's going to be okay.
Yeah, it
Other
would be
questions?
that. And it also helps to give somewhat of a backdrop to this so that it's just not out there in the middle of nowhere. That house that exists already there on the left is pretty noticeable. Of course, when these plants grow, the existing plants that are in there, when they get bigger, well, that'll be a pretty good buffer between this entry and that house. But I've added to that planting that's there right now with more spruce there on the left. And a couple of other trees that are in there that helps to kind of buffer that house from the entry area so that there's a separation between the two and it keeps your eye focused gates and the entry as a complete design and not interfere with what's in the background.
Okay, thanks for the redesign. Appreciate that and for the explanation. I'd say the imbalance of it is too much for me. I'd like to see it balanced. So I'm going to vote against the proposal. I'd prefer to see it balanced. Everything else looks great to me. I appreciate the work that you did on it. Really respect the comments of Ms. Probst, but the imbalance is overwhelming. I can't I can't do it. So any other questions, comment?
That's a very typical kind of response, because what you see in the mirror every day when you look in the mirror is symmetric balance. Yeah. And unless you really have studied design, then it's not so easy for people to recognize that. And it just seems like most designers will do something symmetrical. I'm not sure if that is because there are people like you that can appreciate the symmetric balance more than they can asymmetric. But anybody that is interested in art and has any kind of appreciation for art, I'm also an artist. I do artwork, so I have a huge appreciation for asymmetric balance. It just seems like symmetric balance is, anybody can do symmetric balance, but asymmetric is far more interesting than symmetric. So I understand what you're saying, and it's not uncommon that people could respond that way. But I think that if it was there, if it's there and the planting is all there, then I think that you would have an appreciation for it.
Yeah, maybe
Looking
so.
at a piece of paper, I think it jumps out at you more looking at a piece of paper than if it were there and the planting is there and you see how it all fits together. Does that make any sense?
Sure, sure. Appreciate that. Any other questions, comments? Steve, Steve, you're on mute. Are you?
Sorry about that. I'd like to see something in color, to be honest with you. I don't really have any sense of what this is going to look like other than a sketch drawing. We typically get samples of the stone when we're approving houses. I don't know why we would treat this any differently.
There's not. I'm not sure how much of this you could see. On sheet 3, where I showed details, I put a little color on that sheet. I wonder if here, James. How can I? Oh, what if I just point this in this direction?
You're back. Watch. Up here, that camera switches it around. There you go. Now it's pointing forward. See?
Oh,
There you go.
can you see that?
Then hit that same thing to turn it back around.
Can you see that
We
where I
can see,
put?
we can see the lime green highlighter.
That's just the grassy area, and then between that column and the paving, this is the curb. There is a little space in there where you can't really grow anything in there, so there's pavers in there. But these trim boards that are, this whole column here is really cement blocks, and then it has these trim boards on the corners of it. That would be black, just like all of the fencing, and that inside part in here is tan. That would be the very same thing that happens on the sign, and that's really the only color that's on any of this. So there's nothing out there that is, I don't know if I should say gaudy, but it's
to help me with the asymmetry. It'd be helpful if I had something that would show the landscape in comparison in color, or there's just no way to get a grasp of it. So I appreciate what you're saying as far as the attempt to make it asymmetrical, but this is a tough call, and I have to bring this to a vote. So I'll entertain a motion.
Can we extend this for another week or another?
Yeah, that can be the motion. Would you like to make that motion, Steve?
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we hold the discussion open for another month.
Okay, there's been a motion to continue to next month for additional information. Is there a second?
I second.
It's been a motion and a second. Any other discussion about the motion?
yeah. Does that mean that you want me to do something in perspective, or is it that you just by yourselves want to discuss it more?
That would mean we probably would need more information, but let's get back to that in just a second. There's a motion on the table and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carried. So let's give him some direction as to what would be helpful for us in making a decision.
I'd like to see a color rendering.
I think balance is okay here. I understand that just being symmetrical, like non-symmetrical, but it looks like this is the entry. So I suggest that we create another column to the other side. So
Okay, any other feedback?
Well, I could just add another column to the other side if that. Huh.
So this is just feedback for you, Barry. So we'd like a color rendering, maybe with landscaping, and there's at least two people on the board that feel that symmetry of the entrance would be favorable. I would support that. But those are the things that we're looking forward to the next meeting. And Ryan, you can make sure that happens before it gets back on the agenda. Okay. Okay, thanks, Barry, for the explanation and the work that you've done. It's improvement from my perspective, and we'll look forward to talking with you next month then.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a residential addition at 13027 Starbuck Road. Is there a presenter for that project?
Yes, I'm here. David Schaub with Schaub Projects.
Okay, welcome. Can you give us an overview of the project, David, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically, my client purchased a ranch-style home in an existing subdivision and wanted to put an addition on the back of the house. We've added a kitchen, great room, and master bedroom to the back of the house, along with redoing the patio layout in the back. The original siding on the house was wood siding, and it was decaying. It was in some fairly bad shape, that and the trim. So we're going to remove all of the siding on the existing house, replace the windows to match the existing house, and then replace the siding with a James Hardie product to keep the same look of the house. We've proposed adding 3 dormers on the front over the main body of the house, and just to give it a little height, the surrounding homes are all 2 stories in size, and we wanted to give ours a little more height. The existing roof is cedar shake, and it's in pretty bad shape, so we're going to remove the cedar shake and replace it with a new cedar shake roof also. So basically, giving the exterior facelift in addition to the addition on the back of the property then.
Okay, thank you. Just a question, the color rendering versus the material examples, which color is it going to be?
It's going to be the aged pewter color. Our rendering software has a tough time, matching the exact color. So the photo that we've provided of the color sample of the aged pewter siding, that'll be the color that it'll end up looking like.
Okay, great. Thank you for both of those, by the way. I appreciate that, and that's helpful to know it's the material sample. Other questions, comments about the project?
No, it looks good.
Guys, he's waited a long time. He really needs to have some hard questions thrown at him.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's well done.
Yeah, I like it.
Anything else? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion, a second to approve as presented. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Congratulations. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Next item on the agenda is a residential addition at 32 Muirfield Lane. Is there a presenter for the project? Ms. Stubman, you're on mute. There you go.
Hi,
Well, I can see a part of you down there,
okay.
but I can hear you, and that's what we need to do.
Well, this is Lauren Strutman, and I'm here with my builder, Ken DeBrecht. And this is a home under construction at 32 Muirfield that was approved towards the end of last summer by the Architectural Review Board. And all we're doing is simply adding a covered outdoor room behind their garage. This home is under construction, and we're adding an outdoor room behind their garage, connected to their hearth room, and it has a storage area below because the yard drops off. And we have Muirfield trustee approval. We're using the same materials on the covered porch that we're using on the house, which are in the color sample area at the end of our presentation. The increased coverage on the lot has been addressed by Bowles, and we're here to answer any questions. It's a very straightforward, small addition to this existing home under construction.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
It's a beautiful presentation. I like it a lot.
Straightforward.
Anything else? Questions, comments?
Me.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I like to move the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Been a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thanks, guys, for waiting for us and being patient. Appreciate that. Good luck with the
Thank you.
project.
Thank you.
So Ken DeBrecht is going to present the next project, which is with a different architect.
Okay, all right. We'll look forward to that.
I didn't do those drawings.
He has big shoes to fill there.
I know.
That's very true.
That's why we brought
Okay.
you here for more.
Okay, yes, my name is Ken DeBrecht. I am the home builder for the new residence at 17 Summerhill.
Yeah, just give me just a second. Let me introduce that first, just so we make sure it's on the record correctly. Next item on the agenda is a new home at 17 Summerhill Lane. Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay, again, my name is Ken DeBrecht, and I am the builder. My client is Jeffrey and Bobby Joe Levine. They're relocating here from Long Island, New York. They purchased this piece of property, and the existing home was demolished. And this is going to be a new residence, story and a half, all brick, approximately 2,800 square feet on the first level, 1,400 on the second floor, and approximately 2,000 feet finished below. We have spoke with Ryan Spencer. The original plan showed a 2-car side entry with a single car front entry, and that has been changed as part of the resubmittal package. It's not on the colored documents, but if you see there, we now have a 3-car side entry, and that front entry has been changed to a storage area only. House is all brick. It's a whitish brick. It's not it's not a painted brick. It's called birchwood. So it has a lot of white character to it. The roof is a moire black, and the windows will be a dark bronze finish. The lot is it's just over 1 acre lot. Oh yeah, we have trustee approvals.
Any questions, comments? You know, I periodically ask people that had to have a tree study done per our ordinances if they happen to know how much the tree study cost. I'm just interested in what our ordinances cost our residents. Would you by chance know what the tree study cost you?
Boy, that's a good question. I want to say it was $800, but I'm not positive of that.
Okay, thank you. I want to keep track about how our ordinances affect the expenses, and so just ask that.
I felt for a 1 acre lot, I felt it didn't surprise me, so it was not a shock.
Okay. Other questions, comments?
I think it looks good.
And hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion, a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Sounds like it passed. It did pass.
That's what I recorded.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, that's all we have for the agenda tonight. I just want to bring up one thing regarding the packets. Ryan, we had talked in the past with somebody who had agreed to kind of let us use their packet as an example. And I forget the name of the architect.
Donna Box.
Box.
And Donna.
Donna Box. Do we have a sample put together to give to people when they come in and apply?
Yes.
Do we give it to them?
Most of the time, yes.
Let's find a way. I don't know, maybe it's too expensive. I don't know if we can electronically create that or something. But I'd like for everybody to see what we'd like to see, because these last two items didn't have satisfactory color renderings for me at all. And so I could guess
the last two items.
The last two items today.
The architect.
The only reason I voted for the Muirfield item was because I knew that we had approved it previously. But the Muirfield, we had basically nothing to go from.
Okay.
So I'd like for them to have that. And so if we say, you know what, the color renderings aren't acceptable, they have been kind of warned in advance of what we expect. So I don't want to take them off guard. I want them to be clear about what we're looking for. And I think that Box's presentations were, I think, the best we'd be able to come up with. Can we do that? Can we give that to them electronically, or?
Yeah, it's available. We put it together. Yes.
I can't remember, were hers like rendered by CAD or professionally rendered, or is this something that a normal architect, sole practitioner could create?
Here's the problem. Architects are professionals and they all have different software. The Summerhill, Daryl Labriere hand colored every single elevation.
Yeah.
And that's acceptable. I can't tell an architect who has got 40 years of experience that, he's not capable of submitting a color elevation. That's my issue, is it's constantly, everyone is different.
Right. And I think these look great, particularly since they provided the photos of the physical samples. I think it's really, really difficult. I agree with Ryan to say this is the only way you can draw or the only way you can render, because that's not how architects work.
And I can't do anything about their printers, that the ink color changes. I agree. Sometimes it comes out a little wonky. I go back and forth with people all the time. I constantly hear this issue.
Ryan, it's okay with me if you tell them that our chairman is a big believer in color renderings, And
Yeah.
if they're inaccurate, he's liable to continue your item until we get good renderings.
I do that
So
all the
it's
time, sir. I do that all the time. I really do.
Okay,
I
no, it's
told-
okay with me because, again, the biggest part of what we're doing is aesthetic. And so if we get that wrong, we're not doing our job. And the only way for us to do our job well, on top of the architectural presentation of the aesthetic, is the color presentation of the aesthetic. And so unless we have good information, we can't make good decisions. So it's okay for you to tell them that, you know, for some reason he's a stickler on that and blah, blah, blah. So tonight, another example is, so the color rendering was very weak, but the example was good. So I was willing to vote on that based on the sample that they gave. I could transition from the sample to what it would look like on the side of the house. But I just want you to keep putting pressure on people and just let them know with this color rendering, our chairman may continue this item.
Did we make any differentiate those like the addition versus new homes? I mean, new homes should definitely have a color rendering, but if it's just something like a small addition, do we really need to have color rendering?
Well, my answer to that would be yes, in that number one, I want to know what it looks like to begin with. So even the addition tonight, I would like to have had a picture of what the existing home was. Now, in one of the examples, there's not a picture to give. It's just that we already approved the house in Muirfield. But otherwise, having a picture of the existing house, and then they say all the addition matches the existing house. Okay, I can picture that.
Okay. Well, actually, Donna Box's color renderings are done by professionals, professional renderers. So it's not like Revit kind of produced.
What do Fossil, do you know what those run?
Actually, they could run, I mean, like a 1200 or something like that. So I mean, it can go up high. So
for a full color rendering.
Yeah, like it depends on the like the detail, and then it's like it can go up high, really, 1200.
So are there any other ideas of how to get us good information, particularly in this era where they can't bring in samples unless they have the samples in their office?
Well, I think the requiring of the photographs of the samples, and possibly if it needed further clarification, if somebody would have the ability to hold up a sample that we could see it, I think at this point in time, that's kind of maybe the best we're going to get.
Okay. Well,
and I'll say, as far as staff goes, I know that Ryan has gone back and forth with people saying, you're as far as the pictures that they provide on the materials aren't good enough and they aren't representative enough. So he does work with them to try to get you guys the best product.
Yeah.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the applicant is responsible for their packet. I am not going to hold somebody up who's going to build $1.5 million house. I'm not going to make that judgment call. You guys are the architectural review board, and it's your judgment call if the materials are to your satisfaction. It's not to my satisfaction. If they meet the basic criteria of the application, I'm going to send it forward. I will give them advice, but at the end of the day, they stand or fall, just like this the item with the gate on the merits of what they present. I'm not going to be the arbiter of aesthetics and so forth. That's your job. I'm just the staff liaison. So I'm not going to arbitrarily hold people up months at a time until it meets some.
No, I'm not asking you to hold it up. I'm asking you to make sure they have the information of what the expectation is. So when we see fit to continue it, they can't say, I didn't know.
Right. No, I relay that information.
Okay. Well, and here's the other thing. In 2 months, you guys will have a new chairperson. I am not running for alderman again. So I have 2 more meetings as architectural review chairman. I have enjoyed it amazingly. I love it. And I don't know who will be appointed to this position, but I've enjoyed working with all of you in advance. So we got 2 more months of working together, but just want to let you all to know I've enjoyed working with you. And I imagine I will try to get appointed to the Architecture Review Board after I'm no longer an alderman.
Oh.
So even though I'm not an architect or an engineer or any of that other stuff. So just so you know, so in 2 months, this issue will be up for somebody else to manage.
We have to have
Okay,
happy
anything
hour,
else?
huh?
Pardon me?
Before you go, we have to have happy hour.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Maybe we can have that at the
Virtual or
dais
happy hour.
at Town and Country. Okay, anything else for tonight, you guys? Well, thanks again for your service. We appreciate it very much and look forward to seeing you guys next month.
Move to
Thank
adjourn.
you.
What, me, Lou?
Move to adjourn.
Yeah, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Oh,
Or I'll make the motion.
moved to
I'll
adjourn.
make the motion.
And okay, and that must be a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.